grade 12 students, welcome to this new lesson in which we are going to talk about how to write a letter of complaint. By the end of this lesson, you are going to be able to identify the structural features of a complaint letter. Our lesson will be structured as follows. Number 1, what is a complaint letter? Number 2, how is a letter of complaint structure? What is the structure of a complaint letter? 3, we are going to analyze a model letter in order to know how it is structured. Then we are going to have some kind of useful language that will help us to write an effective letter of complaint. Let's start. Number 1, what's a complaint letter exactly? It's a letter that you write to complain about a certain bad experience you had. This bad experience can be a faulty purchased item. For example, you went somewhere, you bought something and it was faulty or something like that. Or it can be a bad service you received somewhere. It can be, for example, in a restaurant, hotel, or something like that. So, how is a letter of complaint structured? Look at this diagram or this outline. Here we have space for greeting in order to greet the one you address. Number 2, we have an introduction. 3, we have the body, which contains 2 paragraphs. Then the body is followed by a conclusion, and then the closing, followed by the name and signature. In the greeting, you greet the one you address or the one that you want to complain to, by either saying dear sir or madam if you don't know his name, or by mentioning his name preceded by the title, for example, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. And as usual, if we don't know the name, we just write dear sir or madam. Then in the introduction, you state the reason of writing. For example, I'm writing this letter to complain about so and so and so, or I'm writing to show my anger or dissatisfaction with so and so and so. Then you are going to give the exact details of your complaint in a chronological order in your body. You are going to describe what exactly happened. Then in the conclusion, you should state what action you expect to be taken. For example, do you want a compensation, you want an apology, or something like that. In the closing, you write yours either faithfully or sincerely. If you know the one that you write for, it should be yours sincerely. If you know him or her, you should write yours faithfully. Then you write your full name and your signature. Again, the letter is structured as follows. Greeting. Number 2, an introduction. Then the body, 2 paragraphs. Then conclusion, followed by the closing and the name and signature. Let's have a look on this model. Look at the prompt. You recently bought a digital camera from a shop, but when you got home, you discovered that the camera was faulty. When you took it back, the salesman was rude to you. Here, you need to write a letter to the head office of the company complaining about the poor service you received. You can notice here, the first problem is that the digital camera was faulty, and then the salesman himself was rude when talking to you. You need here to write a complaint letter concerning such poor service. Look at this model. It starts with the word dear sir, madam, so I don't know his name. And you can notice that down at the bottom of the letter, you can see the closing, yours faithfully, because I didn't know him. If I wrote, for example, dear Mr. So and so and so, you have to write yours sincerely. In the introduction, we mention the reason for writing. I'm writing to express my strong dissatisfaction with the service I received in your shop. I was sold a faulty digital camera and was treated with great disrespect. Here you mention what? The reason writing, why you write such a letter. Next, you can see 2 paragraphs in green in which we mention the details of the complaint. The writer says, last Saturday morning, after a great deal of thought and research, I bought a ZX650 digital camera from your shop. Unfortunately, when I got home, to my great dismay, I found that the automatic lens cover would not open when I switched the camera on. The camera was clearly faulty. This is the first problem. He bought something from shop and he discovered later on that it was faulty. It doesn't work. It was damaged or something like that. Next, he starts to talk about the second complaint.
To make matters worse, the way the salesman treated me when I attempted to return the camera was disgraceful.
He first accused me of dropping the camera and breaking it. And when I told him this was not the case, he actually implied that I was lying and refused to offer me a replacement or a refund. I was deeply offended by this accusation. You can notice that he mentioned the bad service he received from the salesman, the bad treatment. It was so disgraceful. He even accused him of breaking the camera and even refused to offer him a refund or a replacement. In the conclusion, the writer mentions what action he expects to be taken. For example, he said, needless to say, I am extremely annoyed by this incident.
I demand a full refund.
This is the action. This is what he wants.
I demand a full refund and a written apology, or else I would be forced to take further action.
So we can say here that this letter consists of the greeting, then an introduction in which we introduce the reason for our writing, then in the body we start to give some detailed description of the complaints but in chronological order. Then in the conclusion we describe what action we want to be taking. At the end you can write your closing, as we said, use faithfully or sincerely, then your full name and signature. Now let's have some useful language that we can use at the beginning or the end of the letter. To begin our letter, we need to describe, as we said, the reason of writing. You can just write, I am writing to complain about or to draw your attention to, or to express my disappointment with. You can write also, I am writing to express my annoyance, my anger at, so on and so on. At the end, you can describe the action that you want to be taking by writing,
I hope this matter will be resolved as soon as possible.
You can write also, I feel that I am entitled to a full refund or to an apology or to compensation or a replacement. Also you can write,
Unless this matter is resolved, I will take matters further action.
I hope now it's clear for you how to write a letter of complaint. This is the end of our lesson. Thank you for listening and goodbye.